We have a few connection problems, guys. Bear with me.
Yeah, no worries.
Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels.
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Leicester Till I Die TV. Your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right there. All right, the back. How the devil are you all? Welcome back for the sloppy second show. I'm sorry about the beginning. I'm not sure what is going on. We've got a few gremlins on the show. Did a show earlier, ran really, really well. I think it's the fact that it was a Tottenham fan earlier, I think he's put the voodoo on this show. Either that or it was Steve, because Steve did say he did have some voodoo dolls out earlier. But we're not live on Facebook. We're not live on Twitter. We are live on YouTube, though. So if you're watching on YouTube, thanks very much. And don't forget, if you are on YouTube, press that subscribe button. And if you are listening to this on catch up, thank you very much for listening in as a podcast on obviously Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, and all the major podcast platforms. Here's where you can find it.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform. Or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
It is, and we are actually, well, I'm thinking about changing the rules for the show, because obviously at the moment what we do is we predict the outcomes of the game. I think we're actually going to change it to predicting whether the game will go ahead or not, because obviously each week we are seeing games cancelled off. I mean, there was only two last week. Burnley against ourselves obviously was cancelled at the last moment due to Burnley having COVID cases. And, well, Steve was so happy about this one. Spurs Arsenal got called off, and I don't know what he was doing, but he didn't want to predict on it anyway, so he saved himself not dropping back a point by having the match called off and voided in this show. Yeah, thanks, Steve. I don't know what you're doing. But no, we're obviously going to stick with the normal format. At the moment, Brad is on 87. I'm on 81. and Steve is on 72. Come on, Steve. Come on, get up there, boy. It is the preview show on Leicester Till I Die TV.
It's the Premier League preview show with Chris and Craig on Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Well, I'm switched on, allegedly. Whether I'm ready to go or not is another matter. Going to say hello to Anthony. Thank you very much for joining us again. Looks like I've got an Arsenal top on, does it? No. Leicester. It's got to be Leicester. Let's bring my guests in. I've been waiting patiently. Steve, please don't stick a needle in my doll. But you remember... Did you ever play in red? Did you have the red kit when you were with us?
Yeah, when I first came, the away kit was the red, yeah.
Yes. We're going through all the colour palette with our away kit, aren't we, at the moment? But you must have been really happy, Spurs, Arsenal being cancelled.
Oh, I think they should do it every week. I think they should come up with some reason just to get rid of them.
I was so tempted to say, are you home early? Because I was previewing the show with the Tottenham fan earlier. I so wanted to get you on. But when I said about your hatred for Tottenham, he understood it. So I don't know if you're famous around White Hart Lane or not, but you're known. And talking about being famous, well, infamous possibly, it's Brad. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, lads. How's the pair of you? You good?
I am, and I think Steve looks good.
I won't go that far.
Now, Brad. Now. Just because you got the Norwich result right last week.
Yeah, well, I also said Brentford would do something good, didn't I? Look how that panned out. So, I balanced myself out.
You did. So let's have a look how we it did. If anything works in this show, I will be absolutely amazed. Anthony, the Arsenal fan, says he can see Steve wearing a Tottenham top. Yeah, I don't think. The only place Steve would keep a Tottenham top is next to the toilet to wipe his arse on it. That is fair to say. But let's just bring down the where are we going? Like I say, this works. It'd be a miracle. So there we go. 87, 81, 72. There's not an awful lot changing every week. We got the Palace Brighton draw right, Brad, but we all went for Man City. Sorry, any Chelsea fans that are watching. But Steve, you got the Newcastle Watford draw right.
I know, yeah. I couldn't believe it.
I know. They just can't hold on to a lead, Newcastle, can they? A bit like Man United.
I tell you what, Steve, I've never been more proud to see you get a prediction right, because that was just funny the way it happened. I bet all them Geordie fans went from God, the nightmare was over, to seeing it just being same old Newcastle, same old shine.
But no, well, yeah, we have to mention this one. Norwich Everton. Steve, right to get rid of Rafa?
I think so, yeah. You could see that the players, they were more confused, I think. I don't think it was a case of not playing for him. I don't think whatever he was saying coming across that, they were confused about. Everton have always, over the last 2 or 3 years, they've been a good team. So you can't turn around and say overnight that the players are really bad. I think you've got to aim this one at, the manager and the way he tried to play his style.
Yes, yeah. Your fault, Brad. Your fault is gone.
Yeah, I'll take all the blame in the world, because I've been saying it for weeks. He's been a walking sacking, mate. Rafa is, I'm sorry to say this, but thank God we didn't get him as a manager when everybody was begging for him, because he's clearly not got it to do it at this level anymore. Like Steve said, that Everton side on paper ain't actually bad, is it, really? For all the jokes I've been getting, it's not a bad side.
They bought some good players in the past.
Yeah, so to have them where they are is just... You can maybe excuse a dodgy start and getting hounded more as a manager for apparently managing Liverpool. But you can't excuse what's gone on the pitch after the first couple of games. It's just been absolute dire. It's been more embarrassing than Newcastle at times, and that's saying something, isn't it?
I mean, Steve, he was about as welcome there as well at Leicester. They didn't want him from the start. But do you think managers have literally sell-by dates? I mean, you look at Mourinho now. He's not what he was when he first came to the Premier League. Do you think football evolves and sometimes managers can't, and maybe that's the problem with Rafa?
I think it's excuse me, it's a case of not letting any more managers into the magic circle. I think you've got all these big name managers, and they just go around from club to club, and you've got some good young managers out there somewhere that are not being given a chance.
Yes.
And I feel that if you Rafa's going to walk away with God knows how much money, and how can you get paid for being like you are? And he'll go to the next club and he'll do exactly the same thing. So I think the clubs now need to start looking at getting some decent fresh managers in, fresh ideas, because to me, and I know I keep going on and people must think I'm a right ball, but it's getting too stale, the Premier League. I think it's getting too predictable. And
I must admit, I am more I watch the bottom of the table this season more than the top, because I think it's virtually over up there. It's more exciting down the bottom. But Brad, Anthony wants you to do a favour there. Your fault. Will you say Arteta will get sacked, pretty please?
Oh,
we want Arteta to stay.
Yeah, Arteta is doing a great job calling to the other 19 Premier League clubs, mate. So I can't say, unfortunately, you're outvoted, and so I can't say Arteta should get the sack. I have to delay your pain a little bit longer.
We all went for a Wolves win against Southampton. I mean, apparently all the Man United players now are being banned from ever owning a dog again because they just can't hold on to a lead. As Villa came back 2-2. Coutinho was linked with us, who knows? But Man United are just in free fall at the moment. Yeah, Brad predicted Brentford to beat Liverpool. That was Brad predicted Brentford to beat Liverpool. Got it completely wrong. But none of us went for Leeds. And I tell you what, with that Leeds win, those bottom 3 or 4 are getting cut adrift a little bit.
Yeah, they are. To be honest with you, we probably should have bagged more respect on Leeds, more probably for the fact that I've been one saying that Leeds are in that bottom end of the table, and they're the points that West Ham are dropping. They're the teams that are dropping points again. So maybe we should have really thought more about that instead of going against Leeds, because that was a hell of a game to watch. Did you watch it?
Only the highlights. I don't know about you, Steve.
I thought it was a great game. Yeah, watched it. It was, I've been backing Leeds for the last few weeks and saying that they've got to come good at some time. And then I totally blew it against West Ham, thinking they'll get hammered. But they looked like the Leeds from last season. And I feel that I think they'll carry on now and get a good little run going because they've got the confidence back. Because they haven't been there or thereabouts hammered every week. I think they've been unlucky with some of the results they've had. So it's more of a confidence thing now, and let's see if they can move on with it.
I mean, like I say, it is just. I think the thing with Leeds is that they beat Burnley the week before. It's those games that they need to win, and as I say, the other ones they are getting cut adrift a little bit. And I mean, I know Everton are 5 points clear of the bottom 4, but everyone's got game in hands, and it's going to cause so many problems when they're trying to. Well, we've got a catch-up game tomorrow, but you look at the table when you think Burnley, they're like 5 games behind Man City. But can you see them winning any of those 5 games? I don't know if either of you two can, because I can't at the moment.
Can't see them winning any of them. Any of them. And I know that, obviously, first of all, because one of them is against us. Can't see them winning that.
True.
can't see them even beating Spurs, but I'm sure Steve can. So they're going to have to win one, aren't they? Yeah,
Yes,
probably
this
the
is
one they
true.
got a chance of winning out of the panel here.
Well, this week we've got 10 games as always. How many will actually go ahead? I know not. There's rumours about the Burnley game again, but I don't think it's been cancelled as yet. As somebody might correct me on that. But we start on the Friday night live on telly, and wow, this is a real six-pointer to coin a football phrase. Watford haven't won in. Oh God, I think I sort of was a baby in nappies last time they won, but they're just, Ranieri's not doing it for them. He has the odd win here and there, but they're just. I think I've said this before. I do not understand how the Watford board could have a look at that and go, Ranieri's the man for us after what he did at Fulham. And don't get me wrong, I love the guy. Norwich off the bottom for seems like the first time this season. I mean, they have played more than the two below them, but they managed that win. Steve, 6-pointer, isn't it?
6-pointer. But I think, I'm going to go for law of averages. Watford's got to win one at some time. And I think, if they're going to win one, I think it's going to be against Norwich. Norwich might be on a bit of a high because they got the result, in the last game. But Watford they've got to win one. And I think it's going to be this week.
I can see you thinking there. Brad, would you agree with that?
Oh, I agree that it's a 6-pointer, and I agree all good and bad things come to an end one way or another. And the problem is I think this will be one of them where it'll get to a stage where neither team will want to win this, want to win it, want to lose the game. I think we'll go late into the game. It might already be 1-1. And then you'll get to a point in the game where both teams will go like, well, we'd rather draw than lose this right now, especially if they hear wind of maybe other results going their way, and it turns out to be a valuable point. So I'm going to say it's a draw. I think it'll just end level. I think I can just see this happening with this sort of game. I think they'd rather get the point on the ball.
You were such an Indian giver, all this love for Norwich last week, and you've chickened out. You've not stuck with them for this week.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Norwich is the John McEnroe miracle. Ask Steve. He did it with Watford. They're both miracle clubs. So let's see, if I sit on the fence, I'm not showing favouritism to two favourite children.
I'm trying to put you off because I've gone for the draw as well. I think Norwich will be up.
I know there was an ulterior motive.
Yeah, don't put you off. But no, I have, because I think it will be a draw. I think Norwich, like I say, that they got that win. They will be buoyed up a little bit, and it's a must-win game. If they can't beat Watford, then they're going to struggle, and I think if they're not all down already, they will go down. But it's the same for Watford. They are in exactly the same position, and I think it could even be one of those boring 0-0s, to be honest with you. Last game's on match of the day, as we say. Everton managerless and confidenceless as well. If we're honest, dropped. I mean, they were as high as 4th at one point, Steve. They're down to 16 now, 16th. Their last win was against Arsenal, and you can't read too much into that because Arsenal, they can win one, lose one, win one, lose one. But they lost to Palace. They managed a good draw with Chelsea, but then lost to Brighton, and as we say before, lost to Norwich last week. Up against a Villa side who, to be totally honest with you, that second half when Coutinho came on, everybody was saying, well, is he past it, isn't he? And I know it was only 45 minutes, but it was rolling the clock back. For me, I can only see a Villa win here, and I think it could be quite embarrassing on that. Would you agree, Steve?
No, I think you're going to see a different Everton this game. I think the shackles are off. They got rid of the weight that was around the neck, and I think they're going to want to prove a point that it was the manager and not the players, and not the way they've been playing before. So I think Everton I don't think they'll do enough to win the game because, like you
Right.
say, Villa are solid at the moment. But I think you'll definitely see a different Everton, and I can see this one being a draw.
Brad, I mean, I can see what it's. I presume it's going to be Duncan Ferguson that's going to be in the dugout, and he does do well every when it takes over. Whether he doesn't want the job permanently or not, I don't know. It's an early kickoff on the Saturday. Which way do you see it going?
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because like Steve just said, it's the shackles are off the players. Any grievances, or for whatever reason they felt they were being frozen out the first team when they felt they were more than capable enough to be playing. Whatever they had is now gone. Duncan Ferguson, I think it was actually noted on Sky that he's been appointed for the time being to take over. So we know his effect, although he does like to sub on the player and sub them off after 12 minutes. I wonder whose career he's going to ruin. I don't know. But I don't know if it's because Leicester seem to experience it quite a lot when it's us, but I always seem to get that feeling that I'm a firm believer in the old. Some way or another, you get a manager bounce more times than you don't you? It might not be. Some statistics nerd might be able to tell me the exact percentage, but you always feel like there's a result gained from a new manager or an intern manager, especially when things are going as wrong as they are. And I'm going to agree with Steve on this one. I don't think it's going to be a full turnaround, but I think he'll muster a way to get a draw out of this one. I think Everton do get a point.
Oh, so you're agreeing with you ganging up on me, are
might
you?
Just be the break slammer on that Everton need to make sure they don't get dragged into a relegation battle. You know what I mean? It might just be the start of the brakes being put on and then give it time to win it.
Well, Anthony Herbert goes against me as well with the draw. I would find it very funny, and I'm sorry to any Everton fans that are watching, but I would find it very funny. You are, I think, you've never been relegated out the Premier League, and you know me, I like to see the likes of Brentford, and if they ever manage it, Norwich and whatever, these teams doing well, and I'd love to see like the Newcastles and the Everton struggling. So. Sorry, guys, but I hope you do get dragged into it. Now then, Brentford against Wolves. This is going to be interesting. Brentford coming off the back of a pounding by Liverpool, but I doubt they don't have. Well, they might have him in for this game. Eriksson, a player we've been linked with, but he may be using his old Danish connections, and I can never remember the manager at Denmark, at Brentford. I can't remember his name. I just want to say hello, by the way. Facebook has now joined us. I think I got Facebook working. Sorry it's a bit late, guys. The link wasn't working. It's still not for Twitter, but we have got Facebook with us, I believe, now. Wolves, they just go from strength to strength. They've not lost in 4, and they had a good win against Southampton last week. And, of course, they had that win against Man United. Which way do you see this one, Steve?
I think Wolves will keep on going now for the next few games. I think they're back to 2 or 3 years ago. I think they've got the formation right. I think they've got the defence right. And I think at the moment, other than Man City and occasional Liverpool, I think they're the most solid club in the Premiership at the moment.
They are. I mean, they're proving me wrong totally, because I thought, as they went, and I've said it many times, when Nuno went, I thought that was it for them. But they are having a good season under Lage. Brad, is this a Wolves win, or you going for your second favourite club to get something?
See, the good points made by Steve. I mean, they're quietly going about their business at the moment, to the point where they kind of weren't getting talked about. But the fact is now people are starting to mention they're not getting talked about. So inadvertently, people are now talking about Wolves. And we all know what happens when a team like Wolves and Leicester and that suddenly start getting talked about and start getting picked up as favourites for games. We tend to get a bit of cold feet, don't we? And I can't escape the fact that Brentford have such a close quarters capacity stadium, not too dissimilar to what we remember the days of Filbert Street. as I always compare to. We know what that ground can cause. We know that a whole different Brentford turns up. And I just can't look past, just as Wolves are looking good and people start talking about them, Brentford go and reverse what happened to them at Liverpool and go and beat Wolves. So I'm actually sticking with my, as Chris would call it, my second favourite team, although I don't have a second team. But Brentford are getting a win on this one. Plus, my dad supports Wolves, so I find it easy to say Wolves are going to lose.
I was saying it tongue in cheek. I mean, I love Brentford. You all know if you follow the channel, you know my thoughts on Brentford. I feel bad for them because they are slowly slipping down that greasy pole. I think they will have enough to stay up. I mean, they are currently in 14th, but you know they're 10 points clear of the drop zone. I would normally, if this was at Wolves, I would be going for Wolves because I just think they are looking good. But with Wolves, I've lost my pointer. Where's my pointer? There we go. You know, I want to say Wolves, but it's a little bit of me. It's one of those heart-brain moments. I think I'm going to have to go for the draw again, I'm afraid, and sit in the middle because I think because it's at Brentford, I think they will. They seem to kind of respond with draws after they've lost one, but there we go. Now then, Leeds, Steve, we were talking about them before, on a bit of a fight back. Maybe they've got the mojo back. Newcastle United, they can't have dogs either. I mean, you know, you just think they're close to it. They've been linked with everybody and his dog, literally, in the transfer market. Only two that have come in, though. And Newcastle going to get anything at Leeds?
I think it all depends on Leeds. I think if Leeds look at the fixture and think, you know, this is the right time to play Newcastle, I think that's when they're going to hit a brick wall. Newcastle are not going to get any better unless they get 4 or 5 players in at the same time. You're doing 1 and 2 players, and I don't think they've changed anything. The systems have been the same. I don't think they've looked like they are going to do anything for them until they get 3 or 4 people in. It's not going to make any difference. But Leeds had a good win against West Ham. If they can go back with the same attitude and attack prowess that they've got, I think Newcastle will win this. Leeds will win this 2-0.
For Leeds, yeah. Brad?
Yeah, I'm just seeing only one winner, and it's got to be Leeds. They found a bit of form. They've managed to get themselves some results, much needed results. Let's face it, we're all probably starting to put them in the mixer with the Burnleys and Norwiches and the Newcastles. And I think this one just keeps putting another nail in Newcastle's championship-bound coffin. And probably gets Leeds all but out of it for now. So, yeah, easy win for me, I reckon, against the team.
Sorry, say that again.
I said an easy win for Leeds against the Toon, I'm afraid.
A Toon, so yeah. I agree. I mean, I just wonder if Newcastle have got them. We've talked about this before, and I've gone for a Leeds win. I think that they've turning it round, and they've had a couple of wins, and they're on that. You get the confidence just from a couple of wins, don't you, Steve? You know, as players, you're thinking like, yeah, it's gelling now, and you walk out with that bit of extra swagger, don't you?
Oh, you do, because you got the result. I think Leeds have been involved in some games where they could or should have won the game, and by being unlucky, they haven't got what they wanted. But Leeds are a team that are solid, and I think once they get back into 2 or 3 wins, they'll have another run like Wolves, and they'll get back to where they were.
And do you think Newcastle have got to go down to get better?
I really do, because like I've just said, you know, richest club in the world apparently, but you can't do it by bringing 1 player in, 2 players in. They're not going to make a difference. You're going to turn into a Man United. You're going to have individual players playing instead of team players. I don't think they're picking team players at the moment. I think they're just picking up who they can just to get into the club to try and secure them safety for this year. But we'll see. But I can't see it doing any different.
No. I mean, as I always say, I don't necessarily think we might be where we are now had we not gone down that time into the third tier. It just gives you a chance to get rid of the deadwood. And talking of deadwood, the next game, Man United hosting West Ham United. Brad, I'll come to you first on this one. I mean, it's all going wrong for Man United. That manager situation is just a joke there. And but West Ham, they struggled against Leeds. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, like I said, Chris, about when we were discussing the Leeds result that they had midweek. They don't do well against these low down, failing sides. Not these struggling sides. Sorry, failing is a wrong word. But these sides that are struggling, they seem to be dropping points against. So of course, when a charity case like Manchester United comes along, they're probably going to struggle again and concede some goals. But I mean, this is one of them, isn't it? It's not really an upset if West Ham go and win it, because they have been genuinely quite impressive throughout the majority of the season. But you do just feel like, even if it doesn't matter if it's Ollie or it's Ralph, that Man U will just find a way to dig something out of a game like this. As if to brush over the fact that it's a complete mess at the moment at Old Trafford. But I'm looking at it just being at Old Trafford, and I want to say West Ham are going to win it, but I'm going to say that Man U somehow nicked the draw. I am going to say a draw.
Right. Anthony went for a West Ham win. Steve, how do you see this one?
Football as football is, I think Man United is going to get out. Man United is going to win it. I've just got this funny feeling like West Ham. Okay, at the moment they're really good up front and they're really good at attacking people, but they've still got that vulnerability in the middle at the back. And I think looking Man U, they'll scrape through. I think they'll scrape through this one.
What is scary about this show is it's when people pop up and join. And Mike, good evening to you. How are you? Thanks for popping back. Man United fan is Mike, and he pops up just as we're talking Man United against West Ham. And as you all know, I love Man United. I never try and hide that fact from anybody. Mike, can you not come back in 5 minutes? I mean, I don't know what's happening. Well, I do know what's happening at Man United. The owners are sort of taking what, it was a great club. What Ferguson built under, Ferguson built at Man United was amazing, and they're in the same bracket as the Liverpool of the late 70s, 80s. It was amazing, and yet you think all that has just been destroyed with some bad running decisions. And they should have a manager in now. The players are going to look, and Ragnick says, well, you need to do this. Well, bugger off, you're not going to be there, you're not going to be managing me next season, so they're not going to have that that support for the manager. They should have a manager in. They're Man United. They're the biggest, or one of the biggest clubs in the world. Whatever we say about them, they are. And they've had amazing success. They should be able to say, do you want to be Man United manager? Yes, come now. And
they want somebody firm that can, Brad said this a few weeks ago. You need somebody firm that can rule over the players. That's why Ferguson had such a great run, because he ruled Man United. He was Man United. But the last 2 or 3 seasons, it's been Man United players that have run the club. And I think you go back to, olden days in the England team when you had Wilkins and all those in, and they run the England squad. The manager didn't run it. So I think until they break the core of the Man United back that's in there and kick out 3 or 4 of the so-called troublemakers, and get them out and make sure that the manager rules and they rules the club, and that's what we need.
I mean, the fact that it's at Old Trafford is swaying me on this one. I hate having to do this, but I'm having to agree with Brad again. Well, you start to be a bit controversial, Brad. So I want to catch you up, not just for the same. But I do think.
I told you this when we started, Chrissy. When I used to have me out, I used to be like you, Steve. I used to be the wayward predictors, and they would get me extra points. And now I see a big brain in him, Steve, and that's why he's stuck in this vicious circle.
Oh, if this wasn't live, I'd be going back and changing all your votes, Brad. But I think Man United. Sorry, Mike, but they will scrape a scrappy a draw at that. If it was at West Ham's ground, I could see you're throwing it away. Mella, how are you? Mella, New York, so good named you twice. Did I know that Norwich lost 5 in a row? I didn't. I did not indeed. I think that might end tomorrow, though. Sorry, Mella. Let's have a look what we've got back here. We have now come into Southampton, Manchester City. Let's give them the trophy, eh, Steve?
That's it, yeah. Man City won the league. They won the league, I think, after the 4th game of the season, by the look of it. You know, I hope that somebody gets a campaign up and gets rid of these 3 points for a win, because I think it's killed it. You know, because once you get that run of 3 or 4 games and you get that points ahead, you know you're not going to get caught. And I feel it's so typically boring now, and I think that affects the other clubs in the Premiership as well, because they know after 4 or 5 games that they're not in contention of anything, and they're just playing for mid-table or, like you say, relegation. But I think bringing back the 2 points and narrowing, because you're never going to be able to catch Man City or the so-called top 6 money-wise and getting the players in. So I think they've always got, every year they've got that advantage. So I think something needs to do to take that bit of that advantage away and let them start scrapping for it instead of like having it given to them on a plate.
But do you think that, you know, I see where you're coming from with the 3 points, you know, and for those younger ones like Mike, the 2 points of what you used to get before 3 points were added when we were mere teenagers as well. I just think that, let's say, for example, Man City, well, they are 10 points ahead. So if it's 3 points for a game, you've got 3 games, you're back in it. If it's 2 points for a win, you've got to win 5 games to be back up there. So is it not harder if it's for 2 points?
No, I think because you're making things more, more of a level par. You can lose a couple, but you can still be in contention because you're not there. They're not pulling away. I think the 3 points was brought in to make it more entertaining. But if you look at the Premiership now, do the teams go at each other like they used to before? It's more, everything's changed. It's a slower build-up. It's more passes square and backwards than it is attacking. So I think the 3 points where they said it'll make it more exciting. You know, the way the rules have changed and the way that the game's changing. You know, to me, it's Groundhog Day, because whatever games you play on, watch this Saturday, you'll see exactly the same games next Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, Brad, if ever you can say that anybody's bought the title, it is Man City. We know, that they wouldn't be as good, or they wouldn't have the players they had if it wasn't for the owners. But fair dues, we've all got rich owners to some degree. But Southampton aren't going to come away with anything here, are they?
Get your 9-0 card, bingo card out. I've got a funny feeling about this one, and it ain't a good one. I've got for Southampton fans. I think the annual 9-0ers could potentially be on here, the way Man City go about it. And look, I know Man City versus Southampton's had a few shocks. I think they only lost Didn't they only lose 1-0 or something like that earlier in the season? Someone else confirmed it. They don't always get battered by them, obviously, but I've just got this horrible feeling that somehow Southampton are going to find a way to make it a third year in a row that they lose by 9 goals.
Wow, that would be. I'm almost tempted to bet a little note there that you said 9-0. The only problem is though, Brad, if somebody's wins another game 9-0, I'm worried that they're going to take the record offers and get 10. Yeah, that's the worry with that one. But there we go. But we've got Mike says, Mike, good point, Mike. 9-1, James Ward-Prowse will score a banger.
Yeah, that'll do. I love that, Mike. That'll work.
Yeah, we will take the one. We'll take that one. Burnley, I don't know what I can say about Burnley, and I feel bad because of my affinity with them, but I'm sorry, Burnley. You know, get the roadmap out for West Brom and everywhere else. Arsenal. I just don't know what's happening with Arsenal. I know, Steve, you're just going to go for Burnley, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't blame you at all. Brad, Mike says Burnley are down, sorry to say.
You know, we've said this about a few teams, and I still feel that about a few teams as well. And now I'm going to have to add Burnley to this. Why do they bother? Why do they bother every week? There's good, honest people like down out there that go through thick and thin, and you're just making this suffering just worse. You're not just offer your points, whatever little points you've got to like someone in need, and just let them try and maybe stay up in another division, because you're done. Yeah, Arsenal winning this. I hate to say it, but Arsenal. If Arsenal can't win this, they don't deserve European football. I'm sorry. That's how far and confident I am that Burnley are done this season. They just look an absolute mess that have already started to take steps to go down. I mean, how you don't come into this at any point during his contract and not get your best striker out of his poxy £25 million release clause, God only knows. Just why'd you bother turning up each game day? I mean, I know they don't because they've got more games than hand and they've got points, but still, right now I can't see nothing good going for Burnley, and I can just see Arsenal winning this.
Yeah. Anthony, I want to say Arsenal, but they are. I hate them probably just as much as Steve does. Or maybe I say, probably it's the fans more than the club. I'm sorry, Burnley, but I don't know. But the thing is, for me, for Arsenal, are just so unpredictable. Can Burnley get a point? I'm erring towards, that they might be able to get a point, but then I'm going to look at it and go, well, they're actually away from home. And again, Brad, I've got to agree with you. I've got to go and say,
big brain.
Yeah, if it was at Burnley, yeah, they might be able to fight for a point, but I think the confidence is down. I mean, the thing is, Arsenal, they go out every game knowing that Steve hates them, but it brings them together and maybe gives them that boost. But no, I'd like to see Burnley win because it would do us a favour at our end of the table. Anthony says we'll win against Burnley. Steve, Burnley to win. I thought that was 10 for Burnley. Then I'm going to say, good God. And yet, Mike, Anthony is an Arsenal fan. That's all. That was all the. Well, we're into Sunday now. The first televised game on the Sunday, and we've got Palace hosting Liverpool. Steve, Liverpool. They're still going to have some players away at AFCON. Palace are sort of on a reasonable run, although obviously they only got the draw last time out. We all say we like Palace. They're in 11th place. Liverpool, they know they're probably the title chance is over. Which way is this going to go?
I think this is the right time to play Liverpool. I think watching them some of the last game, the players that have gone out of the team to this silly cup thing where they've gone, I think it's killed Liverpool. They don't look as sharp and as potent as they were. They still do the passing and that, but they're not getting anywhere with it. And I think Palace have got to the same stage now where they're trying to play football, which I think it'll. But they've got that attacking prowess with them. So I think Palace will beat Liverpool.
Well, Brad,
you've just reminded me by bringing it up some bittersweet news. Well, two bits of bittersweet news to Leicester. Is obviously we know Castagne's out for a while, don't we?
Again, yeah.
Bittersweet, more for the player than it is for the club itself. But Ghana are knocked out of the African Cup of Nations, so I don't know how
they're
long.
out now, definitely. Right.
Yeah, they're out now. So that does mean Daniel Amartey's back, or did he not go? Well, I was just being silly.
No, he went. So we will be getting him back. I don't know that he's got to
take, but that is something. If you remember, he does probably play on the right side. So I just wanted to get that out there before I give my predictions. I did this on a very infamously long stream, as you know, Chris, and I'm going to stick to what I said. Cristambul's happening again, but that means I've got to go for the draw. I don't think Palace have enough in them to cause a major upset, but I think they're going to, just when Liverpool think they're going to get the ship steady, they play Cristambul, don't they, all over again. And I think they're going to muck it up again, Liverpool. And I'm going to go for the draw.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that show you on, I wasn't sure whether it was a show or a telethon.
Bit of both, mate.
I was getting ready to pick the phone up and offer a donation.
Yeah, well, you'd be only donating for the need of sleep, but that came shortly.
I'll come back to your question at the end, Anthony. By the way, because it could be a long answer. Yeah, I've got to say that Liverpool. I'm just going to go. I'm going to come out and say I'm agreeing with Steve. I'm going for a Palace win. It's at Palace. Liverpool. They're not the same team at the moment without the good players. But I just think, I don't know what's happened. I mean, Liverpool, they had that calendar year when they won everything that was going, world-wise, European-wise, domestically-wise, and they never kicked on from there. You'd expected a period of Liverpool domination, and then we had one good year. We're going back to normal now. But I'd just like to say, I think Palace will get something here. And the big one. The big game, not on the telly, but Leicester City finally playing a game. Well, we're playing a game tomorrow, obviously, unless it gets cancelled. Steve, we're hosting Brighton, and they've got, of course, the excellent Mr. Potter in charge of them. It's a 10th versus 9th. They are 3 points ahead of us. 2 or 3-0 win to us, and we could go ahead of them. Otherwise, we're just going to sort of sit where we are at the moment. Can Leicester get a win here?
Well, I just checked my phone now, and I think they've just got a draw against Chelsea tonight, haven't they, Brighton?
Have they? Wow.
Right. Yeah. I knew it was 1-0, but they were doing quite well in the first half. So
yeah, it's 1 each now. So I think.
Have they done it again, Brighton? They scored late on.
Scored late on, I think, yeah. Oh, no, to be fair, it was the 60th minute.
Yeah.
Oh, a bit early for Brighton.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a tough one for Leicester. I usually go for the reverse psychology and that on it, and usually go for the opposition. But no, this week I think Leicester's going to prove a point. And I think Leicester will win this year.
I mean, they're now 4 points ahead of us, so we're actually we can't, even if we beat them, we can't jump up any higher on the table. Brad, I mean, it's it's two master tacticians up against each other, Brendan Rodgers and Graham Potter.
Don't swear at me. No, I mean, you say that we've got Spurs. We got Spurs tomorrow. Beat them, we'll get down to a point. It'd be a nice psychological battle to win if we can beat them and get in front of them.
True.
We play them twice.
That is very true.
I mean, this one could all depend what Leicester go into this game into. I think that, if it. I'm not saying you can lose. We don't want to obviously lose the top. I always say you can lose a game if it's, something where you just feel like you've just been hard done by and you've seen a great effort. But if Leicester go into this on the back of a win, I only see one outcome, and I just can't look past us at home not getting a win. I do think we've rediscovered. I think the crowd have rediscovered their confidence in this side, and the team seem to have rediscovered the confidence in that side. I mean, seeing such a performance from the FA Cup as well, and now, like I said, we're seeming to turn the corner with returning players. You've got Daka back looking fit for this. You've got players on form. I know Brighton are like an itch that won't go away. You can't scratch it, sort of thing. It can stay around the top 8, top 9, but I think we'd have enough to beat them at home. And I think we've got to, if we're going to achieve our goal of Europe. I think we've got to make sure we're beating teams in and around us. So for me, I'm going for nothing less than Leicester win.
5 players back, apparently. That always gets equaled up by a couple of different ones going out. James Justin could be back, which will be a great boost to us. But he's not going to play the full 90. I can't see that happening. But it's like I know I got picked up on this earlier for saying the old cliche. It was like having a new signing. But it's 12 months he's been out, so yes, it is going to be like a new signing. Hopefully, if Marty doesn't have to self-isolate, but I have a feeling he might do, he'll come back. It's not going to be 9-0, Anthony. And Anthony, just remind me. How are you doing in the FA Cup? Oh, that's right. Nottingham Forest knocked you out, didn't they?
I don't know, Chris, give them credit because they've got that difficult European tie to prepare against. Oh, no, wait, they don't have that either.
Oh, exactly.
My mind slipped. I forgot they left Europe quicker than the country.
Yes, quicker than Brexit. Yeah, I mean, it's great. No, I'm grateful to Arsenal. I mean, it's been that long since we had a local derby, an East Midlands derby, and Arsenal have provided that. So, Arsenal, thank you very much. I just, just hope that you've got decent shirts on, because when you had those shirts on against Forest, your players looked as washed out as the shirts did, to be honest with you. But
with how scared they were of them, they should have been wearing a brown kit. It made more sense.
Oh, this is very true. This is very true. Leicester, three of us going for a Leicester win there. Yep, I think we're going to get it. We need to, like Brad said, these are the games we need to start winning now. We're not out of the European equation, and unlike some teams, Arsenal, Spurs, that think the conference is below them, I would still take qualifying for the Conference League as success. Steve, I mean, Chelsea have battered Tottenham twice just recently in the Carabao. And I know you hate Tottenham as much as you hate Arsenal, so I guess you're going for a Chelsea here.
They're going to batter them again.
Yeah.
I hope they batter them again. But like I said, I keep harping on about it and do whatever, but it's the mannerisms of the players and that on the pitch. Every VAR decision which was brought into the game to make it more simple and whatever, once the decision's given, there's about 9 players around the referee trying to change his mind and that, and I think it's so disrespectful. And I think it's just the mannerism all the time. They can kick you, but you can't kick them, and it's I don't like it.
I know what you're saying. Nippon, hi, how are you? You obviously think my shows go on as long as yours, because you come in after 15 minutes thinking, I've still got a couple of hours to watch, but you always come in at the end. But welcome along, Nippon. I do hope you are well, sir. Steve's just gone for your team to beat Tottenham Hotspur. Brad, I mean, I can't see Tottenham getting anything. Can you?
No, but I can't see Chelsea winning it. So guess where I'm going? I'm going to my magic fence this week because that seems to be where I'm going. I'm looking at these teams, and honestly, I can't see Tottenham having enough. I don't know what the serious injury is to Son, but we all know him, and he is vital because Kane's still a couch potato. He's not back to his form, what people might say. He's still been drossed this season for Tottenham because he wants out. Difference between Chris Wood, his agent, and Harry Kane's baffles me that, the 100 million man can't get a contract release clause put in his contract, but there we go. But if he's not playing, if they haven't got the creativity,
love you, Anthony.
And Chelsea can't hold on to a lead either, and they can only seem to draw a lot these days. So yeah, put them down for a draw because I don't think either of them are going to deserve a win. I think this could be last on match of the day sort of thing. I reckon this could be the dire game.
I was asking the Tottenham fan earlier. It was on and it's a great channel if you've want to. I know Steve can turn off for this, but I know if you do want to have a bit of banter with the Tottenham channel, Let's Talk Tottenham. It's a great channel. It's called Chris, so you know he's going to be a really cool guy. And I was asking him if there was any sort of, did he see the Leicester Spurs as a rivalry? And because we seem to have done since obviously the third in a 2-horse race. He doesn't think there is, but I don't hate Tottenham the same way now. I will explain things in a minute, Anthony, but I just think Chelsea, they're not going to win the league. They're not going to catch Manchester City up. But Spurs, they've got a good manager in. It's whether they back him or not. And, we're halfway through the window, and you can look at clubs like Leicester and say, we aren't buying everybody, but Tottenham aren't, and there's rumours about unrest with Conte already. So I'm going to see this as a Chelsea. It's at the Bridge, and I'm going to see it as a Chelsea win. I said this to Anthony. We love you, Anthony. And Anthony comes back with, thanks, Chris. The missus don't, but she's a cow anyway.
Oh, lovely.
Niall says, Nip and the Quiz Destroyer. Poor result for your Scottish team. Rangers drew with 1-1 with Aberdeen. He supports. He's got more clubs than a golf player, hasn't he, Nippon?
More clubs than in a deck of cards.
Yeah, Anthony, I'm going to say why I don't like Arsenal at the moment. It was Wenger that started me off because I expect a manager to back his players if they've done a mistake, and he doesn't want to sort of come on the telly straight after and say, "Oh, he was bad" or whatever, as we call it, doing a Nigel. But he never saw anything. He must. He saw plenty of his fouls, where he wanted a foul, but he never saw anything else. And And then I'm afraid Arsenal, when you beat us in that, when Welbeck got the goal in the last minute to beat us in the Championship winning year, your players posing in the dressing room, there was, going like that and all. I'm like, Ozil was doing that. And I'm just like, yeah, you won a game, and it's that kind of attitude. And this, for me, it's not everybody. You're a nice Arsenal fan, and there is one or two out there, but this sort of thing that, Maddison was going to come to you. Why? Not that he wanted European football, not that he was coming to a superb football playing team, because we're Arsenal. And kind of, you're not there now, guys. So that's why I hate Arsenal. But he was actually, Steve, asking why you hated Arsenal as well.
Well, it goes back to when I used to play against him. It was the attitude of the people at Arsenal when you in the ground. Not so much the fans, but the people inside it. What went on the pitch and whatever, but. It's the arrogance of Arsenal. They don't care about the football; they just care about the money. Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea—they're all money machines. They're not football machines anymore. and I think they're losing. What can I say? They just think about their club and that's it.
Yeah.
I think they're ruining the game. But it goes. You watch them on the pitch; they got the same attitude as Tottenham as well. They want to throw you around, they want to kick you, do whatever. But as soon as you touch them, oh my God, they're rolling around on the floor. They're in the referee's face and all that, and they just can't accept what happens on the pitch or happens off the pitch. And I think they're trying to make themselves, right up there, where they're not any different from your Burnleys, your Leeds, your West Hams. It's as though they think as themselves as that it's all about them.
Yeah. Anthony, now you know why I left the question till the end. Show Arsenal some love, Brad. You've got to have some love for Arsenal, haven't you?
Yeah, I love watching it when they lose and everybody loses their mind. No, I mean, I would never ever say anybody like that is a rival club. So to me, rivalry is exactly what it stands for. It's your local team. You have a rivalry with them because you give them more banter. It's always you always feel a bit more happier when you beat a local side. I think Leicester are just bored because we haven't got a Midlands team because the only teams that are good enough to be in there are from the wrong side of the Midlands and the worst side of it. So, we're the only one holding up the flag for the East Midlands, and they were the only twos that made fall out of themselves, weren't they? Arsenal could have kept quiet. They could have jumped on the old bandwagon, given Spurs fans some sticks for reckoning they were going to catch us when they were 363 points behind us that season. But on all seriousness, they could have, couldn't they? Because every other team that was behind the Leicester dream, I mean, some teams' fans were behind it more than Leicester fans, even when it was getting closer and closer. And Arsenal fans just, it's like they went, you know what, hold my beer, we'll be the villain. And again, I'm with you, Chris. Obviously, not every Arsenal fan's like that. Some gracious fans and some Arsenal fans I know. And it's the same with Spurs, but it's easy to give them banter and get a bit more joy out of watching them lose and not doing so well, because you just remember how annoying they were when that sort of season happens. So for me, it's always just more fun when they're not doing so well.
No, it is indeed. What day are we on today? We're on the 18th of January already. We're going to go now. So I've got some questions. But Steve, I just want to say thanks a lot for coming on again, as always. Keep it up. You're behind me in the prediction league. Long may it stay like that. I don't want you to catch up too much. And I think we're going to be back to Wednesday next week. So I'll see you next Wednesday, sir. Take care. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Stay safe. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks to Steve for coming on, as always. I let him go because obviously I don't want to take up all of his time and we still carry on talking. Nippon asks a question here. Chris, who do you hate least out of Chelsea, Arsenal and Tottenham? Do you know what? It's a bit... I mean, I can say the reason I hate Arsenal is, I've already stated the reasons. It's just the cockiness of them. And, that famous picture of them in the dressing room, like I say. Do I hate Chelsea or Tottenham more? I've never really hated Tottenham. I hate the fact that they've got Harry Kane and he always seems to score against us no matter what we do, and we can't beat them. Terry's off. Thanks very much for joining us, Terry. Hope you and the dog enjoyed it. And I don't mean that by Mrs. Fuller, obviously. I do know your dog does. He's a lot happier now. Brad hasn't got his cuckoo clock. Let's just say that.
Well, no, let's just say a few months ago, I learned how to shut the alarm up by putting a piece of paper in front of the sensor. So now I've done that, it doesn't go off. So yeah, I thought about killing it, but apparently I'm not allowed to do that because it's an heirloom. So I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to get trial to murder.
Yeah, I mean Chelsea now, I suppose, with Kante and Drinkwater. How's that £35 million going, by the way? And Chilwell, the way that they left doesn't make it. But I'm going to be honest with you. I probably like Spurs least. I hate Spurs least out the three of them at the moment. But that can be Chelsea and Spurs can change depending who goes where and what have you. For me, like I say, probably at the moment Tottenham. What about you, Brad?
This might throw back a memory to you. I think I finally sort of got over my saltiness of when they completely screwed us out of the FA Cup 5th round at Stamford Bridge when they died for a penalty and LeBeuf scored it. After, funny enough, that would be a great game to talk about the first leg, because I think Leicester had about 8 injuries in their first game. And though it was an FA Cup time, the rules are different, but it's funny how times never change but stay the same, doesn't it? Because Leicester had about 5 or 6, if not 7, first-team players out the first leg. But anyway, I kind of forgave them because I believe it was one of the ex-Chelsea players that felt bad about that, so he altered that line for Chilwell's offside goal in the final. Wink, wink, all that. But no, I don't really have a disdain for either of them. Again, I think it's more aimed towards the fans. One of my favourite players growing up, well, my favourite non-Leicester player growing up was Dennis Bergkamp, so I always had a little bit of soft spot for that team in that era. I've always had a hate and a love part for all three of these clubs at some point during my childhood or adulthood, for one reason or another. Realistically, I only hate them when they beat us, and I love them when they lose to a team they shouldn't do, and I get to have a go at some of my mates. If going to my head, I have to pick, I don't really care about Chelsea all too much. I think they're the least ones I'm bothered about when it comes to either giving banter or their results.
Yeah. Anthony says here, we'll get your midfielder and he'll score the winner against you. You're on about Perez, are you? You're on about Perez. Mike says there, and the answer is, to be honest with you, I used to like, Arsenal at the Bergkamp era. You played lovely football, and I used to like, as a neutral, watching if you were playing another team, but it was just the cockiness of Wenger and the cockiness of your players. And, okay, so Tielemans may go to Arsenal, and I think I said this on another show. If he goes, he goes. What he won't do is go for what the BBC said, which was 40 million, because we paid 40 million for him, so we ain't going to let him go for 40 million. Yes, he only got a year's. I don't think he'll go in the January. I think he's going to wait until the reason he's going is because he wants Champions League football. And he deserves that. And actually, if you do check out the BBC website and go onto the Leicester City page on the BBC website, you'll see my Tuesday blog, Tuesday talking point, as the BBC call it. And I actually said, talking about Tielemans and the fact that he might go. But you know what? While he's here, Brad will remember when he celebrated winning that throw-in. And when he scores, he's still, he's still got that passion for us, even though he knows he won't be signing a contract. It's been 12 months now. Hey, go, that should tell you something. And he may well go, and I will wish him all the best because he appears to be going in the right manner. But you ain't going to get him for 40 million. And yes, he's only got a year left on his contract, so you might get him for 60 instead of the maybe 70 or 80 that we would normally ask. But look at 2 words, Harry Maguire. We don't sell cheaply, so you're gonna have to come in with the money. But it all depends where you end up, Anthony. If you finish in that 4th place and got Champions League, you've got as much chance of getting him as Man City. I don't think he'll go to a Man City for me, Brad. I don't know about you, because he wants to play. And, you've got a £1 billion player at Man City that doesn't always get a game.
Yeah, I think he does. And I think, and I really do hate to say it because I'd rather him go abroad than anywhere else. I think the fact that he just has the pure love of football, and we know, and I would beg to differ, the worst fans in the entire globe, although, well, maybe not the entire globe, because there's the Russian leagues, isn't there? We all know the racism and the foulness, wasn't it? Taking the most obvious and brutal countries out of it, you're talking about your top 5 leagues. You're probably saying he'd make a bad move going to someone like Real Madrid, because you know how toxic their fans are.
Mm.
You know how toxic their fan base get. If they're not, if not every single fan in that stadium would like Tielemans at Real Madrid, he'll get hounded out of it. So unfortunately, I could see him still staying in the Premier League. I'm going to mourn every day that he's not at a Leicester play. You know, I'm going to note it down in my diary the date of the transfer that he leaves. I'm going to have to have a day of, you know, of mourning for it. I really hope it is in the nicest way possible. I'd love to enjoy Tielemans from afar when he leaves Leicester, and by that I mean maybe in Spain or Italy, or even Germany, because I think he is.
What team could you see him going to if it was in England? Which team could you see him going to?
I don't think he'd go to Arsenal, even if they made top 4. I think he'd want someone who's already ready built for top 4, someone who's got a bit more stability. And oh god, it's going to make me sick to say it, but I genuinely think for the more need and the more purpose of the midfield, I can see him going to Manchester United, because Pogba's going. We know that. Same reason Tielemans is going, but for completely different circumstances. He's near the end of his contract. He's going to go. They've got to replace McFred, and if you're going to persist with strengthening that midfield, I just think he sits nicely in it for them, and they do get top 3, top 4 more consistent than anybody. He doesn't get into Chelsea's team because they got 369 million midfielders, and it's just not fair. He deserves to play every week. Man City, he'd fall into the rotation slot that Man City play. I don't think that works for Tielemans. So the only club realistically I think matches ambition for what he's wanted to be doing season in, season out is Manchester United.
You see, I don't, because
I'd rather him go to Inter Milan. I'd rather him go to Inter Milan and win Serie A with them and whatever.
I don't see him at Man United, because they're in, no disrespect, Mike, they're in such a mess. You know, I don't think Man United will probably even qualify for, and this could come back and bite me on the bum, of course, but I don't think they'll qualify for the Conference League this season. I think you're always going to look at that. I mean, you know, you look at Newcastle. I mean, they're being linked with every single player that's going. This player's available, this club, and we'll add Newcastle on the end. You know, so but players apparently don't particularly want to go there. And that's because of the position they are in. And I think it's the same with Man United. You know, you look at Man United, would you want to go there? Because I wouldn't. I don't know who the hell the manager's going to be. So I could sign for Ralph, then a new manager comes in who doesn't particularly like me. I just think they are in such a mess. I could see him going to Liverpool, if I'm honest with you. If it's in this country.
I can see that only on the basis that it seems that every summer, for whatever reason, it's kind of like Liverpool's media go eeny, meeny, miny, mo between Mane, Firmino and Salah, and more times than not, it's Roberto Firmino that gets linked with a move away as one of the first big, the front three for Liverpool to move on to pastures new. If that happens, then Liverpool becomes more of a viable move for him. Obviously last season there was a little whisper around Jordan Henderson. I believe he signed a new deal, though I could be wrong, but that would be casted that over it. But if Firmino does move on, that then does open the door for Liverpool. I just feel that even though it annoys us, you can't also hide from the fact that if the right new manager comes in, and if that new manager goes, for example, Jones, Lindelof, or Matic and Mata, all these players that maybe Man United fans would know more, that they'd say, well, they're the Deadwood, they're the players that are holding us back. There's what needs to go. If he suddenly comes in with the right attitude and the right mentor and goes, right, you 5-6 players clear out, and then then he goes, right, not only does that free up some funds for Manchester United, because even if he's making short change on these players, you get, say, 100 million for the lot. You're probably going to get more than that, but I'm just trying to base it. And then you go, right, I'm going to spend 65 million negotiating with Leicester for Tielemans. You may keep one or two of the players that you really want to get rid of for the squad depth, but then you've got a midfield that starts to look a bit more stronger than what it's looking like now.
I just wonder if a move to Man United would and I'm sorry, Mike, but this is Man United at the moment, whether it is such a big step up from leaving Leicester. I mean, we finished 5th twice. Okay, I think you got Champions League in a couple of seasons, but you don't do very well in that. One of those seasons you dropped out of it. And I think if you're going to leave Leicester, he obviously loves Leicester. He loves playing for Leicester. He knows the fans love him. He would always be, if Schmeichel ever drops out, he's going to be. I would have him as a captain. And he's got that at Leicester, and he's going to want a really, really, really good club to give all that up for. And
there's no.
I mean, Mike, you say this. Sorry, Brad. Mike, you say this. The name alone is probably the step up. To be fair, you would think so, but as I said earlier, Man United are not what they were before Fergie. You were an average team. Now you're an average team. You, Liverpool, you've got 4 or 5 teams that are probably better than you at the moment. So, yes, you have the name, but that doesn't mean a lot these days. It really, really doesn't. Yeah. It is the money that counts. And if you are such a club with such a big name, why haven't you got a manager? Because you should be saying, we're Man United, we want you, let's say, for example, Pochettino, and you come now. That's what we did with Rodgers at Celtic. We want you. We're going to pay for you. We want you to come now. Man United are that big that they've got to have an interim manager in. No, they're not. They're not anymore. They should be. But they're not.
No, and you know what? If you really to be optimistic, in 3 or 4 weeks, if you was to probably look at the betting odds, I'd probably find if you said right now the top 2 clubs are in a betting, and I'm not condoning gambling, but I'm trying to make it in the perspective here. If you take Tielemans from how we've seen it, he's still performing, he's still showing passion, he's still clearly interested in doing anything and everything he can to help Leicester finish better than could. If in 3 weeks' time, let's just say fast forward and hypothetical, let's say we get off to a great start by beating Tottenham in the midweek, and then we beat Brighton, and all of a sudden Leicester in the mix. You could look at the betting things for Tielemans' next place, and it'd go from Liverpool probably first and outright. Manchester United would probably be second because he's always just sort of had that inkling link. But I reckon you could squeeze him come May if Leicester get on a run. Chris, let's not count ourselves out of this. You could have you could have him decided in 12 months going, I asked for Champions League football. We have delivered. I will sign a 2-year extension. It'd still be a 3-year contract, and then, say the second, maybe then next season we get another season out of him. I'm just happy whatever we get out of him, we enjoy it, because very rarely do you get a player who knows he's got a year left on his contract, practically for all intents and purposes, and he's weighing up the option. It's very, very rare you get a player that you still see putting in 100%. So. Yeah, maybe we don't get Champions League football, maybe we sell him, but I still would not rule us out of it until that season is finished and we know where Leicester finish. If he goes, you know what?
That's why I don't think he will leave.
What I want, and why do I want to leave?
But that's why I don't think he will leave in January. I think he'll leave in the summer when he knows where the clubs are going to be. Because apart from Man City, Liverpool, possibly Chelsea, you don't know who's going to get that Champions League spot. Anthony.
No, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say. You're right, Chris. United fans won't have it, though. I mean, it should be, Mike. You say the club is bigger, not better. Yes, and I won't argue with that. I mean, all banter aside, you are a huge club. But that's like saying, that Ralph's driving a Rolls Royce, but he's driving it up the wrong street. Yes, you've got a nice car, and yes, I've only got a BMW or something like that. But it's how is that car performing at the moment? It's. I'm sorry, Manuel, I've just written a few names down here, Brad, and I'm going to just go through them. Kanté, Drinkwater, Chilwell, and Mahrez. Now, those are 4 players that we sold. We got in cheap, and we sold and made good money of them. Oh, and Maguire. I will actually take Maguire out here because Kanté, love him, and I love all those players for what they did for Leicester. You know, they were marvellous at Leicester. Kante, we all know how good he was, but he couldn't wait to get. He was like a rat off a stinking ship. As soon as we'd put the trophy back on the table, he was signing to go to Chelsea. So, and it took him like a week and a half and his agent to actually put a thing out there saying thank you, Leicester. So, as much as I appreciate what Kante did, I don't like the guy. Drinkwater, he's got what he deserved. Driving down, parking outside the Chelsea training ground, hoping for a move. Yeah, how's that working out for you at Reading? 4th from bottom of the Championship, Danny. Yeah, good, son, good mate. So he got what he deserved. Chilwell, a little bit disappointed with what he's been saying since he's been at Chelsea. He didn't actually do anything bad before he left. And in a way, you know, I didn't blame him for leaving because of the way most Leicester fans were towards him. But when you go to a new club and you say, yeah, this is where I wanted to be, blah, 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 great, we accept that because you're now at that club. But don't kick the club that you're at. You know, it's like Knockout saying, no, when I was at Leicester, I was only there because I knew I'd get a move up to a bigger club. Really, Knockout? Where were you as well? And of course, Mahrez, we all know about Mahrez. But yeah, he went, not going on strike, but we would have ended up in Europe that season if Mahrez hadn't missed 3 or 4 games because he was stressed. Was it stressful, Mahrez, parking your arse at Paris airport, waiting for your agent to ring because you were hoping for a move on the deadline? So I'm sorry, Mahrez. I hope your career crashes and burns as well. Maguire, in fairness to him, he's the opposite. He played as good as we needed him when he was here. I think he was a better player at Leicester, but there we go. And he hasn't really had a swipe or anything at us since he left. And Tielemans there as well. Those two completely different to the previous 4. Tielemans, like you say, celebrates a throw-in. You know, he probably knows he's not going to be at Leicester that long, but it's still showing the passion for us.
Yeah, I mean, for all the banter we give mainly towards Manchester United for the Fido page for him, Maguire made no secret of his intention to want to play for Manchester United, and in a way, he kind of reminded me of how Heskey left the club, because he always had a big desire and passion to playing for Liverpool. And if I remember rightly, Tottenham put in a bid that was actually would have given Leicester not much, but it gave them more money. I think they were willing to put up to 14 million for Heskey, and he ended up going for 11 or something like that. And that was because of his desire to play for Liverpool more than anything. It wasn't just because it was Tottenham, because if you remember back then, both teams were in and around the same sort of area. So it wasn't like a big goal for anything back then. So, and sometimes you have that and you accept it. At the end of the day, the only reason I give Kante leeway is I think he reminds me of Cambiasso, who's signing, but different in a way. Cambiasso came knowing he probably only going to get one decent year out, and he probably felt in his body going, if I go to a bigger club, I'm only sitting there for the money. I'd like to have a decent shot at the Premiership and not be one of them that's taking a paycheck. I think we got the idea that he was maybe holding out for maybe someone better than a newly promoted side.
But he did only sign for a year, though, didn't he? So there was no, you know.
But, and there's a lot of things to take into that. But if you read into the reports, and there's clearly no smoke without fire of how quickly the deal was done after this season, like you said, Chris, before the ink had dried, before the chisel had finished, he'd already, he was already outside Chelsea for all intents and purposes, what it was worth. But no, what I mean is if you believe there's no smoke without fire, it was very assured that Chelsea basically said, we want you as a player. And he went, well, I would like to play for Chelsea because I really like the club. I've great words about them, blah, blah, blah. Whatever his reason was for wanting to play for Chelsea. And then they kind of said, we want to see what you can do at this level. And we know of Leicester's interest. I don't know what it is there. People do suggest that because we've done some good dealings before, that maybe there was some inkling that we could have him. I don't know. But it did seem the way it all played out as if he kind of used us as an audition, and Leicester were fine with that. And that's why there was no malice and demand. Because one thing I will respect about Kante is when Chelsea tried to undercut us for his release clause, Kante said, as much as I'd like to go to Chelsea, I would be happy to stay at Leicester if Chelsea don't meet my release clause. So I always give him that because I know
I didn't think he had a release clause because that was why we re-signed Mahrez and put a release clause in there. I didn't think Kante had a release clause.
Yeah, but you've got to remember all these negotiations were redone after the alarming news because obviously that's how Arsenal got in contact with Vardy because of his release clause. These players were signed with the intention, which maybe delves big into Leicester owners thinking if this does backfire, which it could have done in the first season back in the Premiership, just in case this backfires and where they're stuck with players, we've got a way to get them out for a price if they shine themselves in that season. You know what I mean? So when
I always thought that the problem was that Kante went so quickly because he didn't have a clause in, and then since then most of those that we've signed has. But I take the point what you're saying about like the Heskes, etc. I mean, I know with Martin O'Neill, I mean, I was gutted when he went for obvious reasons. Bronze, sorry. I think if we check Bronze, I'm pretty certain I'd put a bet on the fact that he didn't have a release clause, and that's the only thing I will give in fairness to Mahrez, that he did give us an extra season in the Champions League, which he said he would do, and he did sign a new contract that put a release clause in it, so that when he did go, we got so much for him. But just going back to O'Neill, you know, he had Everton after him. He had Leeds after him. You know, we all held those signs up saying, you know, please don't go. Mike agrees with me. He doesn't think he had one either. And he went to Celtic, and that was his boyhood club. And I understood it. You know, I didn't, you know, I said, yeah, you know, you got a chance to manage your boyhood club. You're going to do it, you know. But
I get that, and also I remember his leaving interview, and it was something that I kind of liked in a way, and maybe you could class this actually. You could compare O'Neill, the manager, as maybe Tielemans will do with Leicester as the player. He maybe feel, whereas Tielemans maybe feel that unless Leicester start to match his ambitions, he's done all he can to help bring out the best in Leicester City Football Club with him at the club. Martin O'Neill left for two reasons. It was Celtic calling for him, but he too had also started to feel that maybe he'd taken Leicester as far as they'd gone. We won a few League Cups and we were consistent in that top half, but we probably hit that brick wall, didn't we, as well, where it was, all right, well, we're finishing top half. Where did Leicester go next? I mean, we all know Martin O'Neill was in the discussion for the move from Filbert Street to the King Power because he was the advocate behind it. And I understand why. He obviously felt Leicester were a team that, if left in the best of hands, we all know what happened, could have potentially become, well, they have become that team that Martin O'Neill was hoping to push on just a bit later down the line. And, you know, we might find with Tielemans that he goes, well, I've achieved all I can with Leicester. I now need to achieve more for myself, and my next challenge is can I win a big European competition? I mean, hell, snig all you like, he could win. And all right, it's not a competition we'd ideally want to win the Europa League, let alone be in the Champions League. Let's face it, but he could turn around at the end of the season if Leicester go at it well and be a European Cup holder. Might start off in Europa, you know, conference, but we would still have more European trophies than Arsenal. Well, proper European trophies than Arsenal. I mean, two Mickey Mouse versions of it. But, you know, I'm just saying.
We're going to, I'm just going to take a very quick 10-second break, and then we're going to talk. I've got a couple more questions, but we're going to talk about a friend of yours who is going to be popping up on the show next week. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, please do this.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform, or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Now then, you've got a friend. I'm not sure his name.
We use the word friend lightly.
Yeah, I was just in shock that you had a friend, but there we go. You've got a friend. Let's just at this point call him Blue Tinted Spectacle Man. because we all know, every club's got it. If you're Arsenal, the red tinted spectacles. If you're West Ham, your claret tinted colour spectacles. We've got blue tinted colour spectacles, and you've got him to agree to come on the show next Tuesday, a week today at 10 o'clock. He's a bit opinionated, isn't he?
It's a bit opinionated, to say the least. I'm a bit nervous because, you know, when me and him talk football, I can normally get him to not be Billy Big Balls, but I'm hoping that the cameras and the lights, you know, he's got to remember it's just a YouTube channel. I think he's got it into his head that you're some Chris Kamara or something. I don't know, but just prepare yourself, because I did warn you about him. You have spoke to him before. You have, so he's done, but I hope he doesn't offend anybody or anybody, because he can get a bit blue tinted. You won't win an argument with him. I'm just saying that. Just be careful with him. You might need to bite your tongue, because he can be a bit of a character. So I do apologise.
Yeah. So blue tinted spectacle man next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. I need to buy a beeper. I definitely need to buy a beeper before he comes on. But let me have a look on Amazon and see if I can get a beeper. Now then, Brad, I know I'm probably asking the impossible here, but can you give a 2-worded answer to this one?
Oh, go on. What's that?
Who was your worst manager at Leicester? 2 words, that's all.
Fucking Taylor. There you go.
Oh, that's got YouTube will be banning me again. I don't know why. All my shows end up with it's not suitable for all the audiences, and I have to query it and then they let it go. But yes, Peter, to give him his full name, like you just said there, Peter fucking Taylor. It's his full name. So yes, he was the worst by far. In fact, if you go on to the channel, Anthony, and have a look at the videos from the past, we actually did one. Who was the worst manager, McClintock or Taylor? Did you had Taylor, didn't you, Brad?
Yeah, somehow I lost that, but that's because someone made a very, very, very compelling case about it, actually. So go check it out, because it's definitely worth a watch.
Yes, indeed. Mike, yes, you did. Newport beat Pearls Leicester in the FA Cup. They certainly did. Yeah,
we tried to bore them to death, and it didn't work.
No. Mike, and I presume this is the question you're asking, about you ever selling someone recently to Arsenal Spurs, mate, and was Vardy close to Arsenal in 6? It was. I think he had 2 meetings with him. You know,
I will, like, there's a video out there that you can find from the guy who put the guy who was the puppeteer behind the deal, and quote unquote, he said the second Vardy sat down, that's when I knew the deal was gone. He said there was the way he sat down when I was introducing Wenger into him, I knew the deal was gone. Go and find it. I can't remember the guy's name, but if you search, try and find it on YouTube, there is, and the guy who coerced the whole deal, found the release clause, got him there, brought him to Arsenal, sat him down, and apparently he kind of like he closed up, like he kind of felt like kind of went into a shell, and that's when the guy went, we'd lost him. We knew we'd lost him because he reconsidered. So up until that point,
I tell you who I thank for Vardy not going to Arsenal, and that's Roy Hodgson, because I think if you look at how Vardy was played for England, it was never to his strengths, and there's no point buying. And Manchester United, Mike, did a lot of this before Ferguson, that they would go out when they're trying to compete with Liverpool and buy a player because of his name and who he was, then whether it fit in the system or not. And it was almost a case of Hodgson was picking Vardy because Vardy was scoring the goals all the time, but he didn't know how to play Vardy, and he'd stick him out on the wing. And I think that was it with Arsenal at the time. They would not have played to Jamie Vardy's strengths. It's as simple as that. Yeah. They would not. And it's like when Gary Lineker was at Barcelona, Johan Cruyff, great name, great player, great manager. He put Gary Lineker on the wing just because of his speed. If you're going to buy a player, and I think Vardy looked at Arsenal and went, you're not going to play me. You're not going to play to my strengths. I'll end up in the second team, and that's the end of my career. So we all know at the end of the day, he made the right decision anyway. But anyway, Brad,
yeah, I can guarantee that's as close as he got, because that's, you know, when I say what is from the horse's mouth, when it comes to the guy who negotiated the deal, he says that, you know, he's not. Why would he lie? He'd want to say, oh no, it was a surprise. Vardy's wife did it. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With all that, and he came out and says, we lost the deal as soon as he sat down. So
I think as well, you got to look sometimes. You know, you look at Vardy's history. You know, he's not had it given to him by any stretch of the imagination. He's had to work for what he's got. It's come to him very late. Money, in fairness to Jamie Vardy, he knows he could have got a lot more money if he'd moved on. I mean, Arsenal were doubling or tripling his wages, but it's not all about money. He knew that at Leicester, we'd walk over broken glass to shake his hand.
Well, look at him now, mate. He clearly made a decision to go, Leicester is a club that I can end my career at. And I genuinely think now, I wouldn't even cast a shadow of a doubt if he was still here next year and then he went, right, I'm very happy to be done playing the game professionally, gets into coaching, gets into keeping up with his scores. Well, he'll go and do all he'll go over to America, won't he?
He's got his American club, hasn't he? Yes.
So he'll probably get invested in that. So it's just great. He's become a club legend. And
exactly.
He made the biggest and best call of his career that day. For whatever reason,
so.
whether he just recovered from the night before and went, what am I doing at Arsenal? This is crap. I thought I was in Leicester's office. And that's what made him sit down and say no to the deal. We don't know. But clearly, both for the player and club has worked out for the better.
And I don't think Rebecca was very keen on the move. But anyway, we're going to be back, you and me, tomorrow, Brad, with this. It seems ages since we've done one of these, but Anthony asked earlier, would we see Brad get his board out this week? I don't think it was a euphemism. I think Anthony was just inquiring, but hopefully if you can clean it up in time tomorrow night, we are doing a post-match show post-Tottenham, hopefully 3 points. I don't wish Kane any bad feeling generally, but I just hope he breaks his leg between now and 7:30 tomorrow. But we will be back then. Brad, I'm hoping he's wiping his board. If not, he's playing with himself.
What people will be happy to know. Look, folks, I've got nice all blue magnets for you. Don't worry. I know you might be thinking, Brad, that's not enough, but trust me, that it is. It's more than enough there. I've got all blue, so all my players will be all the same colour out on that blue board for the pitch. So you won't be getting confused when I'm talking tactics. Going on for those who've been moaning for me to stop messing with their eyes and get all.
I know they couldn't work it out, could they? A few people. Anthony, last question here, because otherwise we're going to be rivaling Nippon for his 3-hour telethon. Do you guys like Alan Smith up front? He wasn't bad for Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I actually had Alan Smith on this show again. Check that out afterwards. Go back on. It's under the heading "In Conversation With," and I had an hour with Alan Smith. Lovely guy. I mean, if my son, Leicester fan, he doesn't know Alan Smith. He only knows him as the voice of FIFA, and a pundit on Sky. To be honest with you, a lot of Leicester players, for some reason, don't like Alan Smith, but he formed a good partnership with Gary Lineker, and he took over from Gary when Gary moved to Everton. He was around, in the Lynex years. I liked Alan Smith, and he went to Arsenal fine. We have to start accepting, don't we, Brad, that these players, when we sign them, we're just a job to them. It isn't. we're not there. Yes, you've got the Kieran Dewsbury Halls and that come through. But, you know, even like Harvey Barnes, you know, if truth be told, his dad's played for 2 or 3 clubs. Leicester might not be his dream club, you know what I mean? But we tend to sort of presume, well, they're playing for us, they want to stay here. To them, it is just a job, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I wasn't born, to be honest with you. Then I wasn't around. I know what Alan Smith did. I know, but people.
Look at you, make me feel off. Just get me walking stick out. Hang on, here we go.
Well, take 5 minutes to pick it up. But no. In all seriousness, you know, I know he left he left Leicester, but to my knowledge, and you can correct me, Chris, you were old enough to remember, didn't he come straight back on loan?
He did. We sold him probably about January. I can't remember exactly when, and it wasn't like a January window or anything like that. But we sold him. We were fighting relegation that year, and we sold him on the understanding that he would come back and hopefully keep us from going down. So they bought him, then loaned him back to us for the rest of the season. Yeah.
So to me, you know, I knew he played for Leicester. I knew he did quite well. Like, I know, obviously, he then went to Arsenal, infamously got the Golden Boot award, didn't he? But he's like first full season at Arsenal, like that. And I always just assumed that when he left, it was during the season that Leicester were really struggling. And it was like, oh, I see why Leicester fans don't like him. I mean, sometimes I find him irritating as a pundit. I'm not going to lie. But as an ex-player, I always just had it under the illusion that he left us at some point during the season. Because, like I said, it wasn't really a transfer window as such back then, and he left a sinking ship. But that was far from the case. So I'm still more puzzled as to why some Leicester fans are so disdain towards him as a player. Because surely, if he was that keen to jump ship, he'd have gone, "No, please do not let me go back there. I'd rather."
Do you know what? Do you know why? I'll tell you why they hate him.
If you want that should be some great, genuine insight for myself. Because I generally don't know the
fans hate Anthony. I can't ask any more questions. Ask that on the next show, mate. Otherwise, we're going to be here, you know, tomorrow morning. Thanks for your question. They hate him because when he does his pundits work, he doesn't big up Leicester and aren't Leicester marvellous and Leicester aren't they good? And you know, if Leicester play Arsenal, his favourite's Arsenal, and he's saying Arsenal. And it's the same with Savage as well, you know. He never bigs up Leicester. Well, they actually do if you listen to them.
Yeah.
But as we all know, some fans have got IQs that are lower than the shoe size.
I think sometimes some fans only want to hear or only get shown the bad press, because I'm in agreement with you. A lot of hate towards Robbie Savage. He was a wind-up merchant. He wound up every club he went to. I mean, he wound up, was it Derby or Blackburn? And in his own press interview, when he got asked the question, what made you join Derby, he jokingly said, well, I remember my time at Leicester and Blackburn, used to beat him all the time, so I felt a bit sorry for him when they came in for me. You know, he's that sort of character. At the end of the day, he was our big... If you go back and listen to that FA Cup game, most notably, right, and I know you couldn't hear Lineker because he was in... You know, I'm not talking about the whole entirety. Obviously, Lineker would have been more, despite what people think of Lineker. Again, he's someone that nobody really likes because of his relationship with the BBC. But that's for a different reason, I guess. But my point still stands is, you actually listen to them games, in a lot of games when he's on commentary, he's bigging Leicester up.
Yes, yes, I agree.
Again, Savage is a player I actually like, and I actually find him funny as a pundit. I'm not saying he speaks sense. God, no, I'm not. He doesn't always speak sense, but sometimes he does. And I think when you get so used to a player being a certain way, you can't seem to let it go sometimes as fans, because he was a wind-up merchant and we loved him at Leicester. But when he was being a wind-up merchant against us, Savage is this, Savage is that. And I just don't get it. Let it go.
I mean, he does his BBC 606. He does BT. Now, I would obviously BT. I mainly watched it when we obviously were in the Europa and what have you, and they BT cover Europe. And he speaks very, very positive about Leicester. And when he was on the BBC, at the end of the 15-16 season, the last caller he took that season was and you can get this on YouTube, listen to it. It was a Spurs fan saying that Leicester didn't deserve to win it. And we were a one-horse team with Mare, blah, blah, blah. And he really shot the guy down supporting Leicester. So it's just the thing with ex-players, isn't it? I mean, just remember what they did when it's like Kanté. Do you know what I mean? I don't hate him. I'm not particularly keen on him, but I will always love him for what he did at Leicester.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. But there we go. There we go. Let's say haters will hate, as the youngsters like to say. Brad, thank you so much. We're nearly turning this into a telethon as well. Anthony, thanks for all your questions, and you as well, Mike. Get us carry on the questions on the next show when we come back.
Yes, save them for next time, mate.
Yeah, 10 o'clock-ish, maybe 10:15 tomorrow, depending how quick we are, and it's going to be a post-match. And we might, when we've got the Forest game, we might be doing a watch-along for the Forest game. I'm not sure at the moment, but we'll see on that.
Oh, God. I'm glad you're not asking me to stop with you, Chris, because I'd be swearing if Forest stopped.
I know, and I know you don't like them, so nobody else is lined up for that. You can come on afterwards and do the post-match bit.
Yeah, well, yeah. If we lose, I'm not doing it. I'm ill that night.
Yeah, and again, Arsenal, thank you for the chance for us to play Nottingham Forest again. It's going to be a great atmosphere. East Midlands derby, first one in years. Brad, get off, get to bed. It's going to be a late night tomorrow, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot to talk about after Spurs. Hopefully, it's going to be 3 points for a win. We all think so. So, apart from Steve, who obviously only wanted 2 points. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Hamza, I know I say sometimes you do go into your tackles a bit quickly, and a bit, over the top, but you can do it tomorrow to Harry Kane. Okay.
Make sure we win, though. Make sure we won the game before you do it, mate. Don't do it 10 minutes into the game. Make sure it's like 93rd.
I'm not in the penalty box. Not in the penalty box.
In their penalty box, so he gets a free kick. Sure, that's fine. But
yeah. Thanks very much, Brad. As always, I will see you and your board tomorrow at about 10:30 for the post-match show. Take care and stay safe.
And you, mate. Take care and cheers, everybody.
Cheers, bye-bye. Thanks to Brad there, probably gasping for years. I can see him in the green room. He's like, thank God that's over. Hey, Brad, you can blame Anthony, you can blame Mike. They were keeping the show going. Otherwise, you could have had a fag half an hour ago. Anthony, thanks very much for going on. Come on, Forest. Yeah. Well, even if they knock us out, we got one round further than you did. Bronze Plumber, thanks very much. Mike, thanks as always for joining us. It is much appreciated. Terry earlier, glad your dog's settled now. And anybody else who is in the chat, thank you very much. So we're going to be available on YouTube. As if you're on YouTube, please do press that subscribe button. It does mean an awful lot and it helps the channel. And if you have listened to this on podcast, first of all, thanks for staying with us for nearly 2 hours. But thank you very much. We are available, obviously, on all the major podcasts that are available. The main three, obviously, Google, Apple iTunes, and Spotify. We are on all of them. And I might have some news about podcasts well, I'm supposed to have rung him today, supposed to have rung the guy yesterday, but I might have some news coming up about the podcast. So thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening. Take care. Come on, Foxes. Let's stuff the spuds, and we'll see you all tomorrow to celebrate it. Or not, as the case may be. Good night.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
That's all, folks.
people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now.